Welcome everybody to Forza Horizon 5, and today we're taking a look at the 2020 Lamborghini Huracán STO. Now this is basically a track focused variant of the Huracan, and STO stands for Super Trofeo Omologato. Sorry, my Italian is crap. So yeah, but that basically just means homologation vehicle for the track. So yeah, this has a whole host of extras on it over previous Huracans. So it's got a taller rear wing than any previous Huracan model. It's got a roof snorkel for engine cooling, a shark fin that connects the two. 75% of the body is carbon fibre. It has rear wheel steering, Formula 1 inspired brakes, and only rear wheel drive, which, despite having the same amount of power as the most powerful Huracan, means that this surprisingly isn't that bad off the line. It's not as good as a four-wheel drive version of the Huracan, but it is surprisingly quite good off the line. And I also like the paint work that's going on here. There are at least two other paint jobs that I like on this car as well that you can choose from. But this one is all very nice in terms of its colour scheme. Unfortunately, we can't look at the rest of the car because it is a race car, so therefore all of the bodywork is pretty much one big solid shell, outside of maybe opening up the rear hatch. But still, you can look at the inside, which as you can see is very Spartan. You have, like fabric handles there on the door. You've got very little in the way of, luxury comforts. You've only got a solid screen in the middle, very few buttons. But then, even then, a normal Lamborghini Huracan is hardly a luxury cruiser. So yeah, there was never that much to get rid of. But still, with that 75% of the bodywork being a carbon fibre, and obviously it only having rear wheel drive, this only weighs 3,239 pounds, which is about 100 or so pounds less than the Huracan Performante, which did have all-wheel drive but also had the same amount of horsepower. This though has slightly less in the way of torque, so it does have 630 horsepower from its 5.2 litre V10 engine, but it's about 26 pounds-feet of torque less than the Performante at 416 pounds-feet of torque. I can only imagine that's because it is only rear-wheel drive, and therefore any more torque would overwhelm the tyres off the line or through cornering or anything like that. So that's the only reason I can imagine for that. But regardless, let's get out onto the open road and see what this car can do. So yeah, the launch on this isn't quite as good as a Performante or even a standard Huracan, but everything else is pretty much great. So yeah, let's see what it can do before we hit the speed camera in a straight line, and then we'll get it round its natural habitat, the track. So yeah, it's not quite as good off the line, like I said. As you can see there, it was spinning its wheels a little bit, but it is still a relentlessly quick car. It's by no means a slow supercar, and yeah, certainly going to be a car that will tear up the track quite easily. So yeah, nearly 152 miles an hour there, which is pretty good. Now, where this is weaker than, say, a all-wheel drive version of the Huracan outside of launch, is coming out of corners. Yes, you're not going to have the understeer of a four-wheel drive Huracan, but you do obviously have the risk of oversteer as soon as you floor it, because obviously you have less grip overall outside of slow corners. But through fast corners, with all the aerodynamic tweaking that's going on, with all of the downforce that you have, this is yeah, definitely a quick car through the corner. So yeah, high-end S1 class, easily one of the highest class cars that we've had recently in terms of reviewing it. And yeah, as you can see by the stats, it's all fairly good. Speed is decent, handling and braking are excellent, launch is decent, and acceleration is solid as well. But you can look at the stats compared to the Huracan Performante, which, as you can see, better launch, better acceleration, and technically better handling and on the go. But the braking isn't as good, but the top speed is better as well. So yeah, I guess it comes down to whether or not you like the potential for understeer with all-wheel drive, but have the lack of potential for oversteer, or whether or not you prefer a bit more agility, less understeer, but more potential for oversteer. So yeah, but still, let's take a look at the engine first and see how it sounds, and then we'll talk about it some more.
So yeah, your typical sounding V10, quite frankly, from the Huracán doesn't really sound much different to the standard one, or even the Performante, but what is noticeable is the way this car handles. Yeah, you can definitely feel the lack of any power going for those front wheels, as yeah, it's got way better turning, feels a lot more agile, and weirdly, even though obviously it weighs a little less, it also feels like a smaller car as well. It feels a little bit less cumbersome, and yeah, with all of that downforce, those rear wheels stick like glue to the track. So yeah, really impressive in terms of its performance. The brakes are also noticeably better. Obviously you have less weight, so you have less momentum, but obviously they're also brand new brakes as well. Like I said, they are F1 inspired, so that is all very good. And yeah, with less weight, despite having less torque, it's still a reasonably quick car in terms of acceleration. 0 to 60 is dealt with in 2.588 seconds, and 0 to 100 is dealt with in 5.587 seconds. And despite all of that downforce, it is still able to get up to 197 miles an hour, which is not bad at all, quite frankly. And yeah, but at the end of the day, this is more of a handling focused vehicle, one that is more of a driver's car than, you know, a showing off vehicle, or, you know, one that is meant to impress with its immediacy in terms of acceleration, or, you know, massive amounts of grip. And yeah, it does really well in that. Apparently this was a highly sought after car from a lot of people that play this game. Me personally, if I was going to pick a Lamborghini, I'd rather have one that we've never had before in terms of, you know, other versions, because obviously we've had other versions of the Huracán before. We've had the base model and we've had the Performante. I'd personally have preferred a Lamborghini model that we've never had before, maybe a car that, yeah, has never even been in a Forza game before. But as far as Lamborghinis go, this is really rather great, and it's really suited to the track, which yeah, is where it's definitely going to be best. But even so, on the open road, it's also pretty damn good as well. So yeah, you can get this car for getting a measly 20 points on the festival playlist, and it is well worth getting. I'm sure it'll be really fun to drive online as well as in normal races. But yeah, nonetheless, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.